Hi guys, it's about 3:53 right now here Eastern Time. It's 2:53 Central Time on this Saturday, August 4th, 2012. I'm Stephen Boyle. This video here will be purely tropical. Now, before we get into the before we start talking about the weather, if you hear this breeze in the background, it's because of my fan. It's a warm day. Although the air conditioning is on, I like it cooler, so I have my fan on. Now, from time to time, you may hear this rumbling in the background. It's not anything in my house. It's not thunder. It's because there's an air show going on today over at Westover Air Force Base. So if you hear that, it's because of the air show. Okay. So let's start off by talking about Tropical Storm Ernesto. And again, this is purely a tropical video. My next video will be about the weather across the country. So here we go. This is where Tropical Storm Ernesto is currently located, we'll say southwest of the Dominican Republic. But yeah, we have maximum sustained winds at 50 miles an hour. His gusts are around 65 miles an hour. No, that doesn't say it here, but I memorized it. His movement is west-northwest. I know this says west, but I looked a little bit more in depth on his movement. And it's west-northwest at 18 miles an hour. There is a tropical storm warning for Jamaica. So that's what's going on here. Now, this is the track here, his projected track. And that's where I got this information from, 65 miles an hour for his gusts. Now, this information is courtesy of Weather Underground or Wonderground, WUNDR or NDER ground.com. So if you want to check this information out for yourself, this is not my information. So this is again, the track of Ernesto, at least at this particular point. I think that the strongest point for Ernesto will be within this particular time period, starting tomorrow night, ending Tuesday night, with its strongest being Monday, okay? That's when things will really get ramped up and interesting, and you'll hear a bunch of hype on this, okay? Everyone is going to start really saying, oh, this thing is going to become a nasty hurricane. It's going to hit the United States, being a Category 2, which is slightly possible, but fairly unlikely at this particular point. Showing the 5-day forecast, this is why I feel it's unlikely. He's going to hit the Yucatan Peninsula, and that's going to weaken him a little bit. But that's not the only reason. There is shear out in the Gulf of Mexico, particularly in this part of the Gulf of Mexico, more than what he's in right now. There's a lot less shear back out into this part of the Caribbean. This part of the Gulf of Mexico has stronger shear. And with that being said, shear is winds moving in all different sorts of directions. And if you have a cluster of thunderstorms, again, a tropical storm or a hurricane is a cluster of thunderstorms that's fairly wide. If you have a cluster of thunderstorms and you have winds moving at all different sorts of directions, then you are going to start seeing this thing really get pretty beat up. And that's what's going to happen. Not only is it going to go through land, but it's also going to start to encounter some shear as well. So this is going to start ripping this thing apart. However, the shear is going to start becoming a little less closer to the coast of Texas or the or Mexico. There's a possibility that he might become a very strong tropical storm by the time he hits land, but that would be the highest I would put it down as, is a strong tropical storm. So that's again the forecast for Ernesto. Now let's take a check on the computer models. Now you look at this and you're saying, what the heck? I thought you were saying that this thing is going to go towards Texas or Mexico, but I'm seeing these two right here, and they're saying they're going to hit right into Louisiana, Alabama, or Mississippi. Well, that's just two, and actually I don't like this particular graphic as much as I like my next graphic that I'm going to show. These are just the main models, or the models that, you know, are widely known when it comes in terms of forecasting here. I don't like this as much, but you know, there is a slight probability that it could go into the Gulf of Mexico, hidden anywhere between Louisiana or the Panhandle of Florida, but I don't think that's a very strong possibility. I think the strongest possibility at this particular point is that this thing will probably take a track somewhere like this, or like this, or the farthest north and east that this will go would be something like that. Now let me show you the ensemble models, which is a ton of different models showing all different sorts of tracks, and you can sort of see why I'm not really agreeing with this right in here. There's actually one model saying, hey, this thing is going to go right into Florida and going through New England, eventually bringing us some rain. Don't think I agree with these, but that's a possibility, but we'll have to see what happens. Again, I'm more leaning towards something anywhere between this particular region. Okay, that's my cone. Okay, and I'm eyeballing the Brownsville area, seeing a hit by this. Somewhere between the Mexico and, we'll say, Houston. That's where my general forecast area for this thing to get, for this thing to make landfall, its second landfall. You know, that's where I think that this will hit. So, you know, again, there's also a possible ridge, or most likely there will be a ridge that forms out into the Four Corners region, which will make this thing slide west instead of north and east. If there was a ridge that was going to build out into the Central Plains, then yeah, this thing would probably move towards the north and east. But this particular time, it looks like the ridge is going to build out towards the Four Corners, Four Corners region, which is going to make this thing go more west instead of northeast. Let's talk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to also show you the historical aspect for this, which is fairly interesting. This is again this shows you the past. You know, since 1851 to 2011, the tracks of storms that were close to where Ernesto is. And you can see the majority of the tracks are into Texas or Mexico. There are a few that go out into the Central Plains and make landfall anywhere between New Orleans or Florida or going up the East Coast, things like that, but don't really think that's going to happen. Now, I want to also show you the model intensity for this as well, and I want to quickly go through this because I think my time is almost running up here. Oh no, it's not. I still have a little bit. We have a few points here. This is the intensity, and right now, forecasting the intensity of a hurricane is a lot less known than the track. We're better at forecasting the track of a hurricane or a tropical storm than we are the intensity of it. At this particular point, it looks like the strongest that this storm will become is probably anywhere between 97 to 100 miles an hour, which is a weak Category 2 hurricane. This one also comes close to be making it a weak Category 2 hurricane, but I don't like what it does in the beginning. You can see that this goes way down and then it goes way up like this. Don't really agree with that too much. I'm agreeing more with this one right here, the IVCN. It kind of, you know, this is what before it makes its first landfall. It's a pretty strong Category 1 hurricane, winds anywhere between 86 to 93 miles an hour. Then we have it weaken once it makes landfall in the Yucatan. Then it sort of strengthens a little bit to a tropical storm, fairly good tropical storm, around 65 miles an hour before it makes landfall anywhere between between Mexico and Texas. So I'll have to see what happens with this. Now, I'm not really in agreement with this, where it's a strong tropical or strong hurricane and weakens way, way down. Don't really see like that's going to happen. I'm agreeing more with something along the lines like that. So we'll have to see what happens with this. But again, I'm in more agreement of the IVCN. I'm not in too much agreement with the ships, nor am I in much agreement with the GFDL, and I'm in no agreement with the HWRF. So we'll have to see what happens with this, though. This is model verification. This is again the forecast track here that Ernesto has taken, and you know, you can sort of see this black line right in here is the actual track, and then you can sort of see that this is the forecast, and then where he has actually moved later on. So you can sort of see that it's not changing much. Things are actually going pretty good at this particular point when it comes in terms of Ernesto. So this is my forecast when it comes in terms of Tropical Storm Ernesto, and you can see that I have my cone going something like this. Again, I'm eyeballing this particular region of Texas as my central hit when Ernesto makes its second landfall. I'm pretty confident that he is going to probably go through the Yucatan and do something like that, or something like this. So I'll have to see what happens. But this is my forecast. This is my little graphic that I made. But again, that's what's going on when it comes in terms of the Tropical Storm Ernesto. I hope you all have a great rest of your Saturday. I hope you watch my other video when it comes in terms of the weather across the country. Take care, everyone.